First, Jessica, thank you for coming. This is cool for me.
Oh my gosh.
Because
Thank you.
this happened so weirdly. So I was doing this show and Brett James was playing your song.
Wow.
And I thought, I know she lives around here. I've never met her though. And so we were doing this like a TV show and Brett was playing it and my manager was with me and I was like, do you know her? And he said, no, I don't know her, but I'll see what's up. Then the next night, he's at the Opry and you're singing at the Opry. And he goes, we just talked about this and she's here. Was it a private show at the Opry in the last month or so?
It was the Bob Kingsley Living Legend
That's
Award.
right.
They were honoring Scott Borchetta for it.
And I was like, well, all these worlds are kind of coming together.
That's so cool.
Like, is there any way, like she still lives here, I think. And so how did they get in touch with you? Because we haven't met. That's crazy. We've never met.
That is cool. That's a really cool story. Who is your manager, by the way?
Tom Lord. He works at Red Light.
That's what I love. Tom.
Everybody knows Tom.
Everybody does know Tom. Yeah. I do. I worked with him briefly, but they got in touch with me.
Does like Tom call?
Not Tom. John Zarling, who works closely with Scott, and he called and said that they were going to be doing he was going to be one of the recipients or the recipient for this year for the Bob Kingsley Living Legend Award. And they were going to have a few artists, that were kind of instrumental throughout his career. And they asked me to come and sing.
And how quick of a yes is that?
Oh my gosh! Well, I mean, of course. I mean, I'm not really doing a whole lot these days as far as getting out and doing my thing with singing. But that was that's just a no-brainer because. I mean, for one, that's just something that is so important for Scott, but also, that was my only one big song, and he was the person who made that happen. He's the reason that was a big hit. And I seem to think that when I was at DreamWorks, that was the label that I was with for, most of my career, Scott started to and behind the scenes, I didn't know this at the time, but he was starting to make moves to leave and start up his own thing. And I've always felt like if Scott was still there and we were still working together, I probably would have had more songs that did better. But there was just nobody like him as far as radio promo and stuff.
So when did you meet Borchetta for the first time?
I met him probably when I was 13, 14, maybe even younger, because I signed my record deal when I was 13, I think. And my first album came out at 15. And he was there. He was the head of promotions at DreamWorks when I was first signed.
That's crazy that those numbers exist, 13 and 15, as far as like an artist.
I know. When I look back on that now, I'm like, because I have a 7-year-old son, and I'm thinking, my gosh, could he be ready for what I was doing at 12 and 13? And it's really astonishing. I mean, I know there's kids out there that are doing it, and it happens all the time. But it's remarkable to think about the level of the game, what you're doing at that age.
Different environment, though. I would say then as to now, because now a kid can get on a phone and do it.
Right, yeah.
You've got to be so different and special, and the right person's got to find you 10, 20, 50 years ago, depending on anybody from the kid actors, the black and white days, to the young singers, all the way up until probably the early 2000s. You had to be really special, really good, and be really lucky at somebody who can see that they find you. And so, to be 12,
so many
13.
stars have to align back then as opposed to now with technology and everything.
What was the luckiest thing, a star? What was a star aligning for you way early on at 13, 14, even up to 16 or 17 that aligned? And you look back and you go, man, if that wouldn't have happened, I don't know if anything would have happened. There
was quite a few of those moments for me that were just, I guess, meant to be at that time. I was 12 years old, singing in a band that my parents had put together in West Tennessee. I kind of grew up around music. My mom always had bands, and she was always singing and stuff, so I was around that a lot. And So at some point, we formed a band for me. And I had a woman that was singing with me at the time in my band. And she grew up with Byron Gallimore, who's an amazing producer.
I guess I know him from Tim McGraw.
Mm-hmm.
He's Tim's producer. Yeah.
All these years later, he's like, I mean, he's produced a lot of people, but Tim's been his like number one, like from since the beginning. And she got in touch with him somehow. They grew up together, and she's like, I work with this 12-year-old, and I'd love to for you to hear her. So we came to Nashville. I think he did her a favor. Obviously, he's like, oh, okay, sure, I love you, and we grew up together, but okay, we'll do that. And I sang for him in an office. And he was very dismissive at first. He was just like, okay, it's so nice to meet you. But then I started singing, and and he just stopped me right there in the room. And he's like, stop, I'm in. Let's do this. That was a moment, I was just like, oh my gosh, and I had a few of those, and in those early days, Byron was also producing Faith Hill. They had just started to work together, and Faith kind of took me under her wing and was just like, hey, I'm doing a tour and come out and open up for me. And so I did. That was awesome. But yeah, Tim and Faith were really big champions of me in the beginning. And Byron, he was like, he did everything for me. We lived with him. He took me to record companies, and ultimately, he signed with DreamWorks.
Who's we?
I say we just because it was like my parents and all of us, we all felt like a family. He felt like family, but it was James Stroud. He was the president at the time, and signed pretty quickly. And we did spend a while making that first album. Like, we didn't just rush out and put it out. Did
you shop other places once you felt like they liked you, or was it just, hey, we like you, and you signed with them?
There was a little bit of that, but I think that James was really vocal about, like, we want to do this. This is where you belong. And so there wasn't a whole lot of that. I just think he just made a really compelling argument, like, be here. This is where to be. And so we did that fairly quickly.
Your mom sang.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So what's her story? When did she start singing? What were her career ambitions?
She just always was probably musical her whole life, sang and loved to sing as well as my grandmother. But and she had bands. Like, she was always having bands, and my dad would run sound and stuff like that. And I was always around that. It was just something that she did, I think, for fun. I don't think it was ever a career in mind.
Did she try to make it?
No, it wasn't anything like that. It was just, she loved it. It was a passion. So she did it. At least not that I've ever known. I don't think she's ever wanted to do that. But it was just a passion. And that kind of got passed on to me a little bit. Although I was very shy in the beginning about it. But
would you sing with her ever? Like, get on stage?
Yeah, we did. We would sing together, yeah.
Would you ever feel not so shy while on stage?
I used to hide behind her. Like, that was...
So you were still shy on stage?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of shy by nature.
Really?
Yeah, big time. But, over time, you kind of... you have to adapt a little bit, I think. But I was just, so young, too. Like, it was awkward a little bit at times. So, that was part of it for me, I think.
Yeah, all the awkward years, though, you kind of did here. The awkwardest years are like 11 to 16 and a half, or like right when you're 15 and a half, 16 years old. Like, all that was...
I'm going through all of it in front of everybody,
Yeah. So you say the record took a little bit of time to make. Why? Like, what were you guys doing? Were you just finding songs, writing?
Yeah.
Like,
I was not a writer back then. Like, I didn't even have any aspirations to do that. But Byron has always been a song guy. Like, he is just find great songs. His wife, Missy Gallimore, who's an amazing A&R person, they both just are known to be really, really good song people, A&R. And that was just very important to him to have, the right songs. And, I'll admit, I was slow out the gate as far as my first album. It came out when I was 15, and we took a long time to make it, but there wasn't really anything that, worked from that record. I think my first single was from a movie soundtrack, Prince of Egypt. It was an animated movie.
Did you go to school here or did you do homeschool?
Homeschool. I went to school like up until 8th grade, and then we switched to homeschool. And no, it was in West Tennessee where I'm from. And then at some point when we started making all the trips to Nashville back and forth, we were like, okay, we're gonna have to homeschool now. So
What age did you commit to just moving here?
Well, it's funny. We lived with Byron for probably a year, kind of off and on through the week. Then we'd go home on the weekends. And then by 14 probably was when we got an apartment, I think. But 15, it was permanent. Yeah. So I've been here a long time.
Well, that's a big move for a kid. Like, you're really going to go and do this, but you may not even understand what's happening. I mean, at 15, you kind of understand, but your mom, everybody moved with you, right? Did they move with you?
Well, I have a sister. She didn't at the time. She didn't move because she's 7 years older than me. And she can't remember if she had no, she was getting married, didn't have a baby yet. But
she was old enough, though, to make her own decisions.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Your parents must have really believed, though, if they're going to move with you.
Oh, they were all in.
That's support.
Oh, yeah. Everything. They gave up everything. Like, sold our house that, I was born and raised in. And, well, not born in, but it was my childhood home. And we just left everything. I think about that now. I'm like, oh, my gosh, that is so uprooting your entire world. And I guess, they just knew it had to be done. Like, this is the new chapter we're in. Let's do it.
Wow. That is quite the sacrifice.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
So were you, as a 11, 12-year-old, were you so much better than everybody? Not in Nashville. Because, like, for someone here, because here, now you're here, I'm here. I go to other places, people will be like, you got to hear this person sing. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good. But Nashville's kind of like the land of giants.
Right.
Where everybody is good.
The bar is like so much different, right?
It's like a good ball player at a single A or double A high school. Like, most of the time, it's a good ball player at a small school. Every once in a while, there's somebody who's amazing. But for the most part, it's like, well, if they played in the bigger leagues, but it must have been something special, super special about you to not be here and someone from here see you and go, oh, you're awesome. Did you feel awesome?
Gosh, I'm such a terrible person. Like, I'm the wrong one to ask because I hate to.
But I asked you so you're not bragging. That's the difference. Because you must have been. Because Byron has everybody to choose from that lives here.
Yeah.
Everybody. From 15-year-olds to 35-year-olds.
I mean, I would say that he has great ears. He knows. He has a knack for weeding through that, I guess, and finding the things that
I'm asking you to talk about you. Like, were you just crushing it as like an 11-year-old?
I mean, I was probably to a degree. Yeah. I when you're younger, you don't get in your head. You're not thinking. You're just like doing it, And I did. I'd show up, open my mouth, and bam, like, things started happening.
Did your mom work with you on singing, or was it pretty natural?
Yeah, she did. We got vocal lessons, all those things that you want to do to kind of cultivate your craft, and learn how to take care of it, those kind of things. And she was very helpful with all that and putting me with the right people for how to take care of my voice and things to make it better, stuff
Your
like that.
Your band, were they older?
They were, yeah. I was always around older folks.
It's small town, or not even just smallish town. I'm sure you have to find older people that know how to play. There's not a lot of 11-year-olds. How old were the people in your band? They 20s, 30s?
Older, probably.
Really?
Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, they were probably older. My parents' age, probably. Probably. Gosh, well, if I'm thinking about it back then, so yeah, it was probably 40s, maybe 30s. Gosh, something like that. But
when you're a kid that feels like 100.
I know, exactly, yeah.
Like, we'll never be that old. And then all of a sudden,
when I'm done with this, I'll go back and I'll think about it, and they're probably like, no, they weren't. They were like 32. I don't know, but they did seem like a lot older at the time, but they were so awesome. They were great. Like, I could see, like, when you have this kid, like, oh gosh, I'm gonna go play an instrument in a band for a kid, but they were so respectful. I've been so blessed to have a lot of people around me that always respected my opinions about things and and just didn't treat me like, they didn't shrug me off like you don't know anything. It's never been like that for me. Even Byron was just always asking me, this is you, your career, your name, everything. Like, what do you think? How do you feel? What do you want to sound like? What kind of songs do you want to do? So because you're not only just going through the motions. I mean, I'm learning on the go. I had no experience with anything. And as a kid, so that's kind of what it's like, is you're just figuring it out as you go and learning. And you have hopefully you have all these people around you who are really good and helpful, and are guiding you in all the right ways.
The first record that you put out, you said at 15.
Mm-hmm.
Did that feel successful? Because again, it was later until it really hit for you.
Yeah,
did that feel successful to you?
It was a good. Well, I'll say in hindsight, it was a good start off point for me. I feel like, but it wasn't until we started to go in and make the second record. That was the one that I found the song "Who I Am."
Was it because you knew more of what you were looking for because you just did it, and so now you had a better idea of what you wanted?
I do think so. I do. I really do. And you also have to remember, too, when I came out, 1999, 2000, this was in an era with LeAnn Rimes. That was like the big phenomenon of that time in country music. There'd been no one since like Brenda Lee, all of that, Tanya Tucker. So there'd not been any kind of child star in the mix in decades in the industry, in country music. So I came out, like I was kind of a little bit in her shadow in those early days. Like LeAnn Rimes was doing really well. So I feel like that first record, I just think we might have overthought it, trying too hard to figure out what I was. And I think the second record, we knew a little bit more about what to do.
Did it come together quicker?
It did. It did. And I think we just made a point to make it quicker too, not to spend so long, not to record 1,000 songs. We're like, we've done this. We know, let's move it along.
Did they give you confidence in saying, hey, we're sticking with you for another record?
That was the other thing too, is DreamWorks was committed. They were in it for the long haul with me, which was great. And during that process of finding songs, looking for songs for that album was when the little old song "Who I Am" came along, which was Brett James, Troy Verges, two writers. It was Troy's first song he'd ever gotten cut by an artist, not Brett. Brett had some other success, but they took a chance on me giving me that song, because when I was in the studio about to record it, I remember Martina McBride was on the phone begging for that song. And I remember at the time thinking, like, I don't really feel like, she's a mom, she's got children. This song seems more like of a song that is somebody who's like trying to find their way. They don't, and Martina's more settled. She's got, I just didn't feel like it. I really believed deeply that was not the right song for her and that it was the right song for me. And thankfully, Brett and Troy agreed. They could have given it to Martina, who was so successful.
Did you feel like that was the song as you were recording it, or was it once it was recorded, you were like, you knew that was the one?
I mean, even just listening to the demo, we knew that was a great song. Then recording it all the way, I think everyone knew throughout the whole process, like, we have a single, we have a first single, this is it. It just became clearer, through every phase of making that record, that was going to be the lead off.
Did that song hit different, meaning when it came out, you felt it quicker than any of the songs prior?
Oh, yeah.
From outside, you just like, wow, that it was well received.
Yeah. That song, it was just super special. And it was it's like a song. In fact, to this day, people ask me if I wrote it, because it sounds personal. It sounds like a song that I would have written, because it is so personal sounding. And to this day, people still will ask me, is your grandmother Rosemary? That.
Which it's not, right?
Which it's not. Right. No, it's not. But I just feel like that song is so special. And Scott Borchetta at the time, who was the head of promotion at DreamWorks. He just put together this super amazing campaign at radio at that time and worked. I think I told the story that night when I was honoring him, that he was like, okay, we're going to go do a radio tour for this song. And we're going to, it came out in like later in the year. And so we had to do a radio tour right up until Christmas.
How old are you at the time?
16.
Okay.
16, because I think it went number 1 when I was 17, but it came out the end of the year, the prior year. And so we did a strong radio game with it, and nobody does it better than Scott. Like he just had he felt like, man, we got a great song, let's go. Yeah.
What was the biggest and craziest it got with that song?
Well, I mean,
did you play the award shows?
I did, yeah. I won an award. I was nominated. I always think this is funny. Like I was nominated for Horizon. It used to be called Horizon Award, right alongside Brad Paisley and Keith Urban. And it's funny, like those guys have gone on to have such amazing careers. And I was like right there with them at the time. Like we were all three, like doing all the same things together. And I won top new female vocalist at the ACMs. All the things. Yeah, it was life-changing for me.
What is your grandma's name?
Her name's Patsy.
I am Pat. Not enough syllables.
I know,
yeah.
right?
Did you try to say that like Pat,
Yep.
Miss Pat? Yeah, but then I'd be like, I am Miss Patsy on 3rd Street's Grand.
I know, it just didn't fit. It didn't work. It was cute. I remember her saying, like, people would come up to her and say, "Are you Rosemary?" And she used to say, "Well, you know what? If this song's a big hit, then I'll be Rosemary. I'm gonna change my name to Rosemary." It was so cute.
I was reading that one of the labels that you're on, they didn't even put out your record because they folded.
Oh yeah,
that was later, but I have friends that's happened to as well.
Yeah, I've had the worst, craziest luck. I will say this. So after we had my really good run at DreamWorks and behind the scenes, things started shifting with Scott Borchetta wanting to leave and start his own thing, which I didn't know any of this at the time. But I remember thinking, like, man, if he leaves, like, it's going to be different for me because we have such a connection.
He's been your champion.
He really was. And it was really him and Jimmy Harnan, who now has gone on to be, as successful as Scott. But those two guys, they were just magic and they were in my corner. And so once he left, I did do another album after the Who I Am record, but that was after 9/11. 9/11 had happened, and everything shifted very patriotic. And so it was different. The tone was different. And I think had that not happened, who knows? So then DreamWorks folds, becomes under the umbrella of Universal. I get moved over there. I do a record there, and it doesn't come out. We parted ways. Got dropped, so they say, or you know the words. Get dropped, and then years later, I signed with Disney Lyric Street. Which
what happened to that music, though? By the way, on that record, what happened to that music?
That music never came out officially, although you can probably find it online. Someone got a hold of it and released it themselves.
So they never put it out.
Never put it out. No. Yeah, isn't that funny?
Seems like a lot of work to just not put it out.
I know, and that was a fun record to make. We went down to Miami to do that album in a really cool studio, like a famous studio called Criteria. I think Missy Elliott was doing an album in the room next to mine, in the studio next to me. So yeah, it's at the time it's like heartbreaking, but as over time you learn, like, man, this happens to so many people. It's just like the age-old story of falling in the cracks of music business, shuffling and whatnot. And for me, that just seemed it kept happening. And I moved on to Carolwood Records, which was like an imprint of Disney. Same thing happened there. We made a record, really, with Jay DeMarcus from Rascal Flatts. He's such a great producer. We did an album together. It was awesome, and it never saw the light of day. Yeah.
That's a lot of music that people didn't get to hear.
I know. Yeah. It's crazy. Thankfully, though, that album has not made it into the wrong hands. Like, I have an imposter person that somehow gets these unreleased songs and they'll put it out. But that album remains untouched, thankfully. So I don't know. Maybe I can get that. And
There's
put
an
it out or
imposter?
something.
You?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of brutal. I've had a fan for years who just won't accept that that I'm really not making music anymore, not actively putting out music. And so at first they found anything out there that they could unreleased, and they would try to find that and put it out. But then after they ran out of material, then they would just start singing themselves, but then they'll release it under my name. So if you go on Apple Music right now, you can find all of this bogus, horrible sounding stuff. The quality's bad, and I'm like, oh my gosh, people. I really hope people don't think that I'm putting out these songs. It's just terrible.
That's so bizarre.
And they've booked shows.
No
They've done
way.
interviews. I've had so many.
As you?
Me. I mean, social media sites.
Are you or are you the imposter?
I know it's. They've duped so many people.
That's because I've had stalkers and I've had really crazy people, and we've had to have to get the FBI involved. And
oh, really?
But never. That's a whole different. I don't know how you feel with your safety, but the fact that people are impersonating you, I would say publicly, as far as like someone's acting like you, I've never heard of that before.
It's really frustrating.
Do you know who it is?
Oh yeah.
Have you been like, hey, cease and desist, stop, shut, and nothing?
We haven't. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, we did. We did the whole thing. We found out she has a criminal history.
Not surprising. Usually people that are crazy do other crazy things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty sure she knows where I live. It's crazy. And I'm just like, why won't you move on to someone else?
That she was singing and putting it
I don't
out.
know if it's her that sings, but I do know that she's the mastermind that puts it all together.
What about the interviews?
Same thing. I don't know. I think sometimes it's her, and then sometimes it might be someone else. But I mean, she'll sign contracts. She books things. I've had people that will get in touch with me and say, you didn't show up.
This is the craziest thing I ever heard, Jesse. I'm going to be honest with you.
I mean,
I've been talking to a lot of people for a lot of times. It was the craziest thing I ever heard. Like, I feel bad. Like, I want to punch somebody, and I'm blown away at the same time that somebody would have the audacity not to just get on social media and scam people out of money, because people will do that under my name. And I'm like, if there's no blue check mark, it ain't me. You know, that happens.
Right, yeah.
That's different, because that's somebody in like South America that's just like grabbing anybody's trying to. The fact that they're acting like you.
No, they've been committed like for years with this, and nothing really phases her. I know that it's a her. I mean, I know like anything legal that you'll throw at her, she's just doesn't really care. So at this point, I don't really know what to do about it, because we just kind of combat it as we see it. Like, get it down, take it down. You know, it's really big headache.
Is she a fan?
Yeah, that's how it started, and I believe that at the root of it, she believes that she's helping sustain my name out there. I think that's her end game.
Okay, you are not helping.
Exactly.
You are hurting. You're hurting me. I'm going to start acting like you. I'm going to find out who you are, and I'm going to put out stuff as you.
Yeah, you mean, I could give you her name, but
Melissa, I'm going to put out stuff as Melissa. Whatever the crap your name is, I'm going to put out that stuff. Oh, I joke, but I'm also very, very sorry to hear that, because we have dealt with unfortunate circumstances similarly, and we'll move off of it. But I hate that. I hate that for you, as crazy as it is. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe that. That sucks.
Yeah, it does.
That just sucks.
Yeah, and mainly you just don't want people out there thinking that you didn't show up for a show, or because she'll book things, that kind of thing. I don't like that. My fans.
You own you. Nobody else owns you.
Yeah,
and it's like they're trying to take ownership of a part of you. Dang, I hate that.
Yeah. It's frustrating.
So I was watching you sing at the Opry, and you sounded.
And you were there that night?
No, but I watched a lot of tape.
Really?
Well, I didn't know you were going to be there. The whole thing was, I was talking about you because Brett James was playing the song we were shooting for the show.
I love that he does that song, by the way.
And everybody's going crazy. And then again, I'd asked Tom Lord, "Hey, do you know her? I never met her. It's not a huge town. Never even bumped into you." And he was like, "I don't." But then he went to the Opry thing and sent me a video of you. He's like, "This is the weirdest thing because she's here tonight and saw you singing. You sounded so good." So,
Thank you.
do you still sing at all to keep your voice in shape?
There's things for sure, yeah, that will come up. Like I've had friends that we do, ride around type things, and for sure, yeah. I mean, obviously, if things come up here and there, I will do it. It's not like I'm completely.
Well, I didn't know
anti,
because you said you've like not, done. I didn't know if you just were like I'm out. I'm not singing.
It is
anymore.
true. I mean, I have been in like mom land for the last 7 years, but no, I'm not like anti. I'm not singing anymore, but I will definitely say yes to things that like make sense and that are fun to do and things like that. So writers things that I love to do, and I've done several of those in the last few years. And it's funny, I actually try to say yes because my kids are getting to the age where I do like for them to see that side of me. Like
I was going to ask about that because they probably obviously they didn't get to see that as you were doing it, but do they understand it now? How old is your oldest?
My son is 7.
So maybe just starting to kind of
he's seen me sing, and he was there that night at the Opry. So and it's important for me too because I want. I want him to know, like, hey, if I'm always going to be your cheerleader and telling you to go after things, I also want him to see that, mom has done a lot of cool stuff, and I'm not just the one making snacks all the time,
Is your mom still alive?
Yeah.
So she was able to see your success.
Oh yeah. She was with me, traveled with me, everything.
Was she proud of you?
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh yeah. She was amazing. She was never one of those like stage moms that try to control everything behind the scenes, and you hear so many stories of people who had success as kids and then they have some kind of falling out with their parents because of
they stole their money.
Yeah, all kinds of stories like that. Never the case.
So then I guess she wasn't a mom that was just living vicariously through you.
She was in a way, like because she just was enjoying it all and
but it wasn't like dominating her.
Not at all.
That's really cool and rare for a parent of a child that gets really successful.
I know, yeah, it is because that can really end. Lots of divorces happen because of it, and I will tell you, like that could not have been easy. Because we were traveling so much, and my dad he would come as much as he could, but there were times when he had to hold it down and have a job, and we weren't making money in the beginning, and so that had to have been so hard to keep a marriage together. My older sister, and so but we came through it, and there weren't easy, like it wasn't always super easy, but they were the best as far as support. And just loving the opportunities that we were given, we knew that this was a ride of a lifetime.
I have a very close friend whose daughter is doing music. His daughter's about the age that you were when you were starting music, and he's a great dad, and she's a great kid, and she played at the Ryman with me a few weeks ago, I guess. She's so good, right? And we're in the land of giants, but she's so good. She's such a great songwriter.
Wow.
But she's a kid.
Mm-hmm. How old?
They're 12, 13.
Yeah, that's a kid.
That's a kid. That's a kid.
To me, it's like a baby.
Yeah, but it's so weird that she's a kid, but then when she's on stage,
is there like a maturity?
There's something that just isn't a young child. It's like she's more mature on stage than I would ever be doing it 100 more years. Like there's just something
that
in
is
her.
that is. You asked me that earlier. That is something that people used to say about me. They would never guess I was that young when I was on stage doing, singing.
There's an irrational confidence that she has. And I told her during sound check, I was like, you shouldn't be this confident. Like,
right, yeah.
Like you should because you're that good, but you're young. How
you
do
know,
you
know what
develop?
It is?
Yeah.
Kids don't get in their head. They're not overthinking. They're not worrying about, okay, who's watching me? What I needed to, you know what I mean? Like adults do. We care too much about all of the other stuff. kids just get up there and do it, It's fun. They know, hey, I can do this, so I'm going to do it. So there's not a lot of overthinking for them. And that's what it just comes, it's so effortless in that way.
What advice would you give a kid if they were like, hey, I'm 12, you gotta, because she's got like big managers now, like all just, but also
awesome.
what advice would you give the parents? Like two different sets of advice. So talk to the kid first, because you were the kid in that. Like, what would you say to them?
Well, I would say first, have so much fun with it, because while it is a business and it can get really crazy and hectic, you can lose sight of that sometimes. You can easily forget in the exhaustion and the schedule and all of that. You can forget about the part of, I'm a kid, so I need to be making sure I'm enjoying this. And for the parents as well, make sure of that,
Make sure the kid's enjoying it.
Make sure that you can, however crazy and hectic it can get, try to make it fun. And then also is, I mean, who you surround yourself with is so important too. Like, if you've got really great people around you, I mean, that is a game changer, I feel like. And I was so blessed to have the best. I mean, I think all, Byron Gallimore and Scott Bruschetta and Jimmy Harnon. I mean, Scott Simon was my manager, who's still to this day Tim McGraw's manager. If you really, and I always felt like I had good instincts about people.
Even
I
as
guess
a kid.
Yeah. And I think my parents did too. And so I think that's important. If you got a good instinct about people and who this kid, is it a girl you said? Girl?
Yeah.
Yeah, who you need to work with, and that's crucial, I think.
What about the parent? What would you tell the parent?
Well, since they are the parent, I mean, they're going to be instrumental in who surrounds her. And that's just important. I mean, that's so, it matters. I mean, not just on a level of that's a child, but just someone that like I said, they always respected my opinions, including her in the mix, not just everybody making decisions. Make sure she feels a part of it, even though they're so young. She's so young. I mean, she's a baby.
Was there ever an imbalance? Because you start to have success and get famous, and was your mom before you started? Your mom is still your mom, but now you're kind of famous. Did the balance ever change where you're like, but you're also like a teenager and you're already questioning what your parents do anyway? It's such a
bizarre.
weird.
I had such a nothing was normal with it's funny. My husband now, I met him when I just turned 18. He's a songwriter too. And I just turned 18 when I met him. And we joked about it then, and we still joke about it, about how nothing about my teenage years were normal. He went to college. He did I didn't go to high school. None of that. And so I think years later, I started to unpack a lot of that, about just how non-typical everything was for me. But it felt normal. I didn't know anything different. So I guess it's relative to what you know, and that's all that I knew. But there was never any kind of imbalance with my family. Nothing like that. Probably because I had people that took care of things. I had a business manager, a manager. No, they weren't ever involved in that. They were just parents. And I will say that was important to me, that they just remained parents. That was it. And I would say the same thing for the young girl. Make sure your parents are just your parents. They let them just lovingly adore and admire, and so that all those other things don't get blurred. Do you know what I mean? All the business stuff.
Sure.
Yeah. Because it can.
Yeah, mine gets blurry now. I'm an adult.
Yeah. I mean, I would never, ever want to blur those lines. I wouldn't want my parent to manage me, or I just.
Yeah. If your kid in 5 years, like, I want to go do music. You did.
Oh, that would be great. That would be encouraging. It's not like I would be like, no.
The 7-year-old's a boy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does he like to sing?
He's an amazing drummer. He can sing,
because he has it from both sides. You and his dad.
Yeah.
So he's drawn to the drums.
Yeah, he's great. He's really, really good. And he actually can sing too. but he's going through like a little shy thing right now. Very similar to how I was at that age.
When you were 7, though, were you singing though at all? I know with your mom, but
like around the house, I was loud and all of that. But the minute you would put me on the spot to do it, then I would clam up and want to hide, But
did you ever come into like a windfall of money?
No, it was like a gradual thing, And with who I am, I mean, still to this day, I'm like, gosh, I didn't write that. I wish I did, because I know, those Brett and Joy still see, good money from that song. No, it was never like cash is flowing now. It was gradual. I mean, I did a good tour one year that was really successful and great.
Are you ever somewhere and people are singing it, like either a karaoke place, because I hear people sing it, or at the grocery store and it's playing over the top of you?
Yeah, that's happened for sure. But I would say lately, it's had a few little TikTok viral moments. I think a few years ago it did, and then literally just like a month ago, I started getting all these videos and tags from like people, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's having a little moment again, and it's so funny. I'm not really on TikTok by choice, just because I would just become too addicted to it, but it's on there, and I see all the videos, and it's crazy. My son, like he gets to. I think that he gets a kick out of that.
Did anybody ever sing it on the shows like The Voice or?
Yeah,
because I was on American Idol for a bunch of years, but I feel like it was sang by like in the auditions by people.
Danielle Bradbury.
Really, on The Voice?
Did that song on The Voice.
That's pretty cool.
Yes, she did an amazing job. And then she went on to actually sign with Scott Borchetta, which is kind of funny. But it's done. Yeah, that song's done. I'm telling you, that song is just, it's going to continue to have a life, I think, as newer generations, hear it.
Do you get tired of singing it?
One of those timeless songs. No, I don't, because, you'll figure out ways to sing it and make it, like I did at the Opry. I kind of slowed it down, and it probably didn't sound very much like how the recording does. But, you kind of reinvent.
Well, Counting Crows, I was watching them sing yesterday. It's my favorite band, and he sings
who
all
is it?
Counting Crows.
Oh,
Counting
my
Crows.
gosh, yeah.
He sings them different the whole time, and I love them. But it's like, man, it's hard to sing along. I heard yours, and I could sing along with yours. The tempo was just slowed down. But he would like sing Mr. Jones. I'd be like, Mr. Jones and me.
Oh.
It's like, dude, that's nothing like the one. How am I supposed to sing along to that?
Right. Yeah. Oh, so he's making it a point to like it not be a sing-along type song.
Yeah, I think he's sang like 10,000 times, and he's just kind of like, man, I can't do it again.
Exactly. That's exactly what that is.
If you sing the song, it's so branded to you. And I think I try to put myself in shoes of somebody who had something that was they were known for. Did you ever have a bad relationship with it for a while afterward? Or was it always positive?
You know what I think about that is in recent years, I think that people don't really know. They haven't made the connection with who sings that song because of social media. Social media wasn't around when the song was a hit. And so now these days, I feel like they know the song, but they're like, oh, I did not realize it was so-and-so. And then they'll have to kind of do a little bit of digging or connect the dots somehow, and then figure it out that way. But I think that's just a time thing because social media.
Were you ever like 22 or 23 and you were like just kind of over it for a minute?
No, I don't think so. No, I've never felt that way about that song. It's just, it's such a great song, man. When you have a song that connects with people and it continues to do that, I think I just always knew and felt lucky to have had a song like that. Your
husband now, I was reading about him, but he's still active in the industry.
Kind of, yeah, kind of. I mean, he's kind of in the same boat as me as far as like when we have kids, your world kind of.
Does he write still?
Yeah, he does write. Okay. He's not actively writing for a publisher, but he does write. I mean, he's a writer. Any writer will probably tell you that those wheels,
creative is always creating, regardless.
So that's him, basically, yes.
Do you guys ever?
He wants to, though. He really does want to get back and like write.
What about you? Do you want to get back?
I think, well,
I mean, not right. You just want to get back and sing more, do more shows, be more? I don't know. What do you want? Because obviously you love being a mom.
I do. That's a really great question, and that's one I ask myself a lot. I really do, because I think that probably for every woman who has kids and becomes a mom is going to probably wrestle with that a little bit. Men don't really have to think of it in that same way, but there's just a lot more thought that goes behind if I would ever really want to. I'm always going to sing, but if I ever wanted to like jump back into like doing it as a get back in the game kind of thing, I don't know, because I just, there's a lot to consider and think about when you're raising babies, and I think about when I was 15 and when I went out on tour. My first tour was Faith Hill, and she was probably in her early 30s, and she was raising babies too, man. On that tour, she had 2 little ones. I mean, little, the whole time on the road. So, I know it's like possible and people do it. You do what you got to do. I guess it's just a bigger question for me is what kind of balance would I want to, you have to strike a balance somehow. And how can you do that? I think I wrestle with that. I'll be honest. I mean, I don't know what the real answer for that is. It would have to be something that some bigger thing would need to give me the answer to that. Something would have to feel great, feel right. But I'm always going to sing. We'll see how things align.
How was Faith Hill toward you?
She was so awesome. She was like a big sister. I mean, she gave me clothes, took me out on tour. Really just told me like whatever I can do, to help, and she did. I mean, she was really great. Her and Tim both. They were just they've done that for a lot of people. I think Taylor Swift would, in the beginning of Taylor's career too. She said the same thing. Faith just would always say that Reba did the same thing for her when she was getting started. So I think she just felt that that's what you do when there's up and coming artists. You just you have to show them that same support.
Well, this has been really awesome for me. I'm so happy you came and sat. And
oh my gosh,
again, it was all just
so
kind of
much.
Random, and I was like, man, it would be really cool.
It really is, yeah.
And then it went from really cool to like, wow, that's twice in like 26 hours.
That's one of those things where things align, and
So I really appreciate you coming over and
thank you,
just sitting and talking.
I've enjoyed this so much. I'm so glad you asked.
What did you think about during this that maybe you haven't thought about in a while? Because that'll happen with me sometimes, where someone's talking about something. I'm like, oh, I kind of forgot about that. Because I talked about early records and some Byron stuff. Anything come to mind? You're like, I haven't really thought about that in a long time.
Oh, well, a lot. I mean, it's funny. I think the Scott thing is funny because when I was asked to do that it was just a month ago. I mean, everyone knows the career that he's had because of, signing the biggest artist on the planet. But I think when I was singing that song and talking about him on stage a little bit, it just got me thinking like, whoa, this is crazy. Like he went on to sign another young female, and people have asked me that a few times. They're like, oh my gosh, how did that make you feel? To know that he left and then went on to do something. And it's never, I understood. I got the big picture. I hate the circumstances of, falling through the cracks and albums getting shelved and things like that. But I never really had thought about it all that much until I was on that stage. Like, oh my gosh, and it's funny. I had run into him. I didn't tell this story when I was honoring him. I wouldn't have done that. But like one year at the CMAs, backstage, I ran into him on the red carpet, and he gave me a hug. And he's like, and I think Taylor her Fearless album was just getting ready to come out. And he came up and gave me a hug. He's like, oh my gosh, great to see you. And I can't remember exactly what we said, but I feel like he kind of was, I don't want to say he was apologizing, but he said, I feel great that I got to, start up my own thing. He goes, I got to do everything with Taylor that I never got to do with you. And I was like, oh, ow, but I think that was his way of saying that he got the creative control he always wanted, and to do his own thing. And he had all those big ideas with me, but
that's what it felt like to me when you said that. They felt like that you had the situation been a bit different, that could have been you, because you had the talent to also do that with him.
And I think Scott wished he was at the helm, of DreamWorks, so that he really could have, made all the decisions. I think that was ultimately what he was saying and that's how it came out when he said, I got to do all these things with her that I never got to do with you.
Because he thinks he could have done it with you because of what he saw in you and what you did while you were with him.
Yeah. Because he was a big champion of mine. So I thought of, that story did play in my mind when I was up there talking about him. I was like, wow. But, we had a moment, and when I said my little thing about that we had one, one hit, I said, I'm all right all these years later saying I was a one hit wonder, I think it's, I don't, that doesn't hold any kind of like stigma for me. Like, I think it's great. I'm honored that I had like an amazing song that is finding new audiences still to this day. So I kind of own that a little bit, like nobody knows what the future holds, you never know. But for a moment, that was for me like my one hit. So, but it was just an honor that we got to do that together, and we did some good stuff.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And I would do like, hey, follow, but you know what? You're smart. Your Instagram's private.
What's that?
Your Instagram's private. You're smart.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah, it is private.
Yeah,
that's right.
so it doesn't matter.
That's the thing with me too, is I kind of like secluded myself because of all that craziness. I did. I'm like, I'm hiding crazy. Everything. I don't want to share anything because I don't want them getting a hold of it. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's crazy.
I know.
We had the FBI. It was a whole situation.
Oh my God.
I had to kill him. No, I'm kidding. All right, and that we're gonna go. Jessica, thank you.
Thank you.